Hello, friends. Welcome. We have officially descended into the last week of this entire stack, which is wild. We are in week 8. This is lecture 1. So that means we have today and then 2 more left in our class. And then we are officially done. You guys have crushed it. Lots and lots of stuff to do. So happy final week. If you have already passed the exam, you've already turned in everything. This is a great week for you because you don't have anything due. You already have done it all. And so you can just kind of wait and get that new welcome email on Friday, and then you can kind of step into what you are doing. If you are not in that boat, just want to remind you that discussion questions are due tomorrow. Do not forget, like if you're sitting at 4 already missed, that's fine. You can miss 4 and move on. But if you forget to do this week's, I will check, and then they close tomorrow by end of day. So if on Thursday I'm checking and you forgot to do them, there's nothing I can do. So please make sure you're doing your discussion questions by tomorrow. And all of your core assignments, so getting up to that 90% is due tomorrow. So it is, you do not have until Sunday. So please do not message me and say, I forgot, I thought it was due Sunday. They're all due tomorrow. That's what it says on the sheet. We've been preaching that for a long time. I think everybody in here is good to go. But I did also send an email yesterday to everybody who is maybe, one assignment behind or a couple assignments. So I let you know, hey, this is what I'm still expecting from you. If you didn't get that, then that means you're good to go. That means I am, you've passed your exam and you have, or you've done a completion, you've done your discussion questions, you've done that. But regardless, just wanted to give you an update on kind of a few things. So belt exam retake codes and completion status. I sent out an email today. So I wanted to just make sure that you guys were aware. If you fall in this boat, if you've already taken your exam, I'm sorry that you have to, kind of hear this, but if you fall in this boat where you're sort of stressed, you don't know that you're going to pass the exam, but it's your first, or it's not your only stack. So you've done multiple full stacks. So whether you've come Python or Java, as long as you have a completed belt, you can technically take a completion for this course. What does that mean? And I tried to lay that out in the email and I put it in Discord as well. Well, what that means is that you aren't taking the belt, so you don't technically have a belt on file, but transparently, the belt is really just sort of your own understanding and for you to have. Whenever you get your graduation template your certificate, it used to have the belt, every belt, and then it would, black belt, red belt, orange belt, or just completion. We don't do that anymore. It just states the languages that you've taken. And so really, I would encourage if you want to really know React, the belt exam is a great sort of test for that. But I would also say from a mental health perspective, if you're super stressed or having to take off work and finances kind of come in, just know that that is an option. There's a couple people who I've already reached out to that this isn't necessarily an option. Because if you are a one stack person, you have to get a belt exam. But if you've already taken a stack and maybe you've even failed your first exam, you can retake. Happy to do that. Happy to grade that. But you can also take a completion and that will still allow you to move on to the next one. As long as, just one caveat, you can't just take a completion and that's fine. You still have to have your core assignments. You still have to have your discussion questions. So if you don't have 14 core assignments and you don't have your discussion questions, you can't take a completion to move forward. You have to have both of those things. And then from the belt exam perspective, if you want to take the completion, you can. You just have to email me and let me know that. And then that way I can kind of put it in our system. And then when we're moving students over on Thursday and Friday, we can make sure that you're taken care of. One thing I want to note is we had a super influx of students. Fun fact, this is a large class, only 16 to 25 of you guys come, but there's 65 students in this class. And as sometimes happens, people waited till the end to take their first attempt or their second attempt, or, you took your second attempt and you want to get black belt, that's fine. Regardless, we had a ton of belts come in over the last couple of days. Again, makes sense. So we are currently trying to grade them. Gray has been incredible in grading and grading and grading. I spent hours grading the other day. We are going to continue to try to get your belt exam grades out. Now, one thing I want to say is if you don't qualify for completion, and you don't pass, I understand that today is the last day to get a belt exam code. Because we are not finished grading, I don't want to put you in a position to basically you have to start it tonight and then tomorrow, and you don't really know what to do for work. So if you're watching this and this is you, or if you're here, this is you, I am willing to work with you. I can't do a ton, like I can extend it by a day, maybe. Just maybe you start the belt exam tomorrow and it has to be done. You have to start it by noon tomorrow-ish, and it has to be done by Thursday noonish, or just end of 5 o'clock on Wednesday, and then has to be done by 5 o'clock on Thursday. I'm happy to do that because on our end, we're a little bit behind getting those assignments out. What I can't do is like give you till Sunday. That I can't do that. It has to be done by end of day Thursday. And so if that is you, please reach out to me. I will send an email. Also, if you are waiting for your exam and you end up not passing, I will send an email and I will let you know, hey, you didn't pass. Here's your status. You can take it for completion, or you can take another one. Regardless, you're moving forward, right? Because even if you take another one and fail it, you can still take the completion and move forward, given that you have 90% assignments and you have adequate discussion questions. But if you're not, you're right, if you have to have those belts, then I will work with you and kind of make sure that you are taken care of in that way. Again, belt exam is a great indicator for personal knowledge and personal strength. And so if you want to take it, I would encourage that. But if you are finding yourself just kind of at end of your wits, or it's a busy week, this is also very okay. And technically nobody will know unless in an interview they ask you transparently. A lot of companies aren't familiar with our belt exams. Some companies are, because we've worked with companies like Microsoft, might know what they are. But if you have a red belt or black belt or orange belt, I've never been asked in any interview, whether it was Palantir or Starbucks or Indeed or Module or Twilio, nobody's ever asked me about my belt exam. So it's kind of for your own knowledge, if you'd like. Any questions on that? You might ask yourself, well, why did I take it if I could have done that? Because it is good to test your skills and make sure that you know it. We just want to make sure that people aren't stressing out and wanting to pull all-nighters, because that's not good unless you have to. Cool. Okay. A couple things to expect for the next few days. Tomorrow, I'll be emailing you just stating your status. Most of you guys, if not all of you in here, are going to get an email that says, hey, you have got everything you need. You're good to go. And you're ready to move forward. You've done your discussion questions. You've done your exam. You've done your core assignments. You're good to go. Let me know if you need anything else. If not, then I'll still let you know, hey, by the end of the day, assignments are still due, right? That the belt exam I can work with, assignments are still due tomorrow. There's nothing on our end that has prevented you from doing any sort of assignments. You've known that those are due tomorrow. That's been in our sheet forever. And so all assignments are due end of day tomorrow. So I'll let you know if that, if that's you and you have a couple assignments, I will let you know that and say, here's what I'm missing. I need those by the end of the day. And if you don't, then it will require a retake, which oftentimes is a financial cost to you and a time cost because it's another 8 weeks. You will have me as an instructor. But so if you don't like me, then definitely want to do your assignments. If I don't, scratch the itch of what an instructor needs for you. So I'll be sending that regardless tomorrow. So you'll know, okay, I'm good to go. No stress. Or, there's a couple times maybe you forgot to just, I messaged a couple of people yesterday and they're like, oh my gosh, I don't even know how I didn't turn in this last one. I've already done it. I just forgot to turn it in. That's super fine. Okay. That's why we do it. You should have gotten an email yesterday already saying, here's what I'm missing from you, core assignments wise, discussions wise, et cetera, et cetera. If you didn't, again, you should expect just to get an email that's saying, hey, you're ready to move forward. Great job. Really happy to have you for that. Any questions on the email tomorrow, stating your status, anything like that? Cool. You'll also be getting an email for the stack survey. So just similar to how we have in the mid-stack survey, the stack survey, what it does is allows me to make sure that I'm doing the things that I need, that I'm able to communicate, that I'm able to, teach the material in a way that is acceptable and is helpful, right? And so we want to make sure that we're doing that. So it's just like the mid-stack survey. This is sort of my KPIs and how I'm graded, if you will, on how well I'm doing. And so please, give me some information. If you have constructive feedback, that's okay. If you don't feel like, I was it, please at least give me the knowledge of what are some things I could have done better. If I didn't do things well, then at least tell me what they are so I can be better, because that's what I'm trying to do, is be as good of an instructor as I can. We'll also take some time out tomorrow in class for you guys to do it. And then I'll put it in Discord as well. So that is what to expect there. Just want to give you guys an overview of a couple things, kind of what you can expect next, other than just from me, sort of what we've done so far. Obviously, this is week 7. People are catching up. We talked about OOP class components. Then we talked about some authorization or authentication and backend stuff. So we built our backend, almost all of it. We have one little piece today. We're going to talk about a JWT config and where that comes in. We're really going to see where that comes in tomorrow. But today we're going to kind of start connecting the piece. We're going to bring in a client and we're going to start building our form. We're going to go over that because that's something I want to make sure that you guys know. I think from grading these exams, and Gray, I'm sure you could probably attest to this. From a back end side, you guys were super solid. Really, really, really good back end stuff. From the front end, handling state, handling forms, that's where if anybody, you guys all did great on the exam, but if anybody struggled, that was typically where people were struggling. So we're going to take some time today, go through a form, walk through the different pieces again, making sure that you guys are fully understanding exactly what's going on and how we're doing that. So we're going to do that today. We're just really, all I have is we're going to finish our JWT config file. We'll kind of walk through what that's doing and where that's going to come in play. Then what we're going to do is build out our client side. We're going to build out a register form. Again, I really want to make sure you guys have an understanding of forms, and then just build out a dashboard, and we'll be able to hopefully register. And then once it registers, it links us to a dashboard. That being said, tomorrow we will have a part 2. That's where we're going to bring in our login information. And so then we'll also look at, we'll start with them being different components, and then we will go from there and try to bring them all into one where you have a register and a login, and you can handle different information from there. The last thing is I'm switching it up a little bit. And if people don't want to do this, I'm happy to take requests. I've had a couple people make one-on-ones with me and just ask for like, hey, it's a month out, especially if you're going to P&A. If you guys are going to something different, then that's okay. You still got, another 12 weeks. But if you're going to P&A, what are some career tips and tricks that I have for you? There's lots of information I wish I would have known. I wish I would have heard. Lots of tools, lots of career ideas, places I didn't know where you could look to get a job. Depends on what you're looking for, obviously, but a ton of information for, like, here's career tips and tricks. We'll pull up, I'll have some job listings, things to look at in job listings, things outside the box, different options, different things. And then you guys can just ask questions about my career, ask questions about if I have any suggestions. So just thought I'd kind of host a career talk, if you will, just to be able to answer any questions about any of that. But if that is not something that you'd like, then obviously please let me know, and then we can figure that out. Or if there's something you'd rather see, we can do that as well. Cool. It's a lot of setup, a lot of information. Anybody have any questions? Anybody have any statements, thoughts, concerns, anything like that? Going once, going twice. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and go over. This is actually, it says lecture 3 in class because I was having a hard time. I don't know why my computer was not allowing me to just copy this. And normally what I do is I just copy the assignment and I put it in week 8. You'll see a lecture 1 solution in week 8 that's doing the same thing, but it was not cooperating with me. So for some reason, I just am continuing this. So if you're looking for this code, it's going to be in week 7, lecture 3, in class. So in our GitHub, that's where that's going to be. But just as a sort of reminder of what we've done is obviously we have our mongoose config file. There's nothing new there. We've got a database called reg login underscore DB. Nothing new. We have done a couple things that are new, right? So in our controller, actually, let's start in our model. So if you guys were unable to make it last week, just a couple different things. We are still bringing in mongoose. We introduced bcrypt. We talked kind of in depth on password hashing and how that works and why that's important. Really important. So we're using a tool called bcrypt. We saw that there's really 2 that you want to use, bcrypt and SHA-256. Never use MD5. There's rainbow tables. We talk all about that have lots of passwords. It's not good cybersecurity wise. So we're using bcrypt. We have to bring that in. We have to install that. So that's in our package JSON. We're also using something called validator, npm validator. All you have to put is npm install validator. This is different than the platform. Again, it was just to show you that there's 2 different ways to do that. Cool. Then we've got our model, which is not anything new, anything you guys have not seen before. One thing I do want to state is there was a lot of confusion about on the exam. It was saying that they were not the error messages were not generated from Mongoose, but they were user created. Right here, by us writing this is our user created. In theory, we don't have to do that. We could just put required and then bracket true. And then what will happen is we will get a Mongoose generated response. Sorry if I wasn't clear on that, but that's what we're doing here. These are our backend user validations right here, these strings. So as long as you had these or some variation of that, you would be good to go. Then what we did is because we want to make sure that we are logging in, we are going to have this confirmed password, especially for registering and creating a user. It's going to be really important. That way people don't type or fat finger the wrong password. And if we only have one, then it is that password. That's why confirmed password is a thing, right? Is to make sure that you are typing the correct password so you don't have a hard time logging in. Because if our users have a really hard time logging in the first time, they have to go and they have to recreate their password. They might get to the point where they just don't even want to deal with your application again. So sort of creating a way for us to make sure that we have a better user experience. Now, passwords, data is cheaper than it used to be, but it still costs money, right? So we don't want to double up and save the same things from confirm password and password, because they're going to save the same thing as long as they are correct, which we know they're going to be, because we can't save something until they are correct. So we don't want to save 2 of the same thing. And so what we can do is we can create this virtual attribute within our model. And we are calling it confirm password, right? Remembering that each instance of our user that's being created, it's creating this virtual confirm password, but it doesn't actually save it in our database. That's why we have this, because it's saying this instance's version of confirm password. And we have a getter and a setter. So we're creating that attribute. Then we are validating it and saying, cool, if they're not the same thing, then invalidate it and say, you cannot, I'm wanting to validate this with confirm password, and passwords do not match. So we have to make sure that our passwords match. We're using this next function that is always brought in right here as a callback function. This is our pre, so this is before us saving it. So this is all new. This is what we call middleware, right? Just to make sure in between our backend and our front end, when we're trying to communicate, there's some functionality we can do. That's what our JWT config file is going to be also. It's just, again, we're building some middleware so that way when they're connecting and talking, that they are doing it correctly. And we have the certain stop guards in there to make sure that things aren't broken. We also have this guy. This guy is our hashing function. So what it does is it takes in our password. We add how many rounds into our salt we want to add. Really, this is the length of our password. There is a sweet spot. It can be what you want, 6 or 10, but just remember, the more you have, the longer your password hash is going to be. the more characters you have, the more space you take up. So there is a sweet spot. Obviously, if you had a million characters, that's super unique, super secure, but it's going to cost you a lot more. And so we want to do that. 10's pretty default, 6 to 10, pretty fine there. We hash it and then we save our password as the actual hash itself. And then we export our model. So nothing, so those are the three things, our middleware, that are new for us. Then we in our controller, we have a couple different things. Now on the exam, one of the portions was to make sure that the user, or sorry, and I'm okay with saying this because I sent you guys the rubric, that the store was unique, right? And so we do the same thing here where we say const potential user. If you wanted to do that, this is all you had to do is first check and say, hey, when the store is being created, let's say find one, does this already exist? By store number or whatever it was, name or whatever it is, does it already exist? If so, then we want to say, you know, hey, this already exists. If not, then we can go ahead and create. And so that's what we're doing. We're creating, and what we're adding in is this JWT, this token. We've seen this in Postman, where when we create this and we actually create a user, we'll see this JWT, and then we also get this cookie, right? And this cookie is what is going to allow us to communicate back and forth and know that, okay, when somebody's logged in, they have this cookie assigned, and then that allows us to follow that and authenticate it to make sure that, you know, our user is allowed in certain spaces. And or if we want to make sure that, hey, only users who actually sign up, not just free users, but people that actually sign up can actually create a store or a movie. And if we do our movies, then we can use the authenticate and say, okay, is there a cookie that's created? If not, and we'll see that tomorrow whenever we sort of put a bow on all of this login and reg stuff. Did the same thing with login, but instead we did find one just to make sure, hey, they're telling us that there's already a user by putting there's this email, do the passwords match, we give it the password from the body. And then if there is an email that matches that, then we get that password as well. Now, remember, we have to use bcrypt to compare them because we can't know what bcrypt does or how it works. So we have to use the built-in functionality so that way it can unhash or compare the hashes together. So that way it knows, okay, this password and this password match. We assign a token and cookie, and then we move forward. Cool. Any questions on anything that we've done moving forward? Moving up, or what we've done these last couple of weeks, sorry. Not moving forward, but nope, cool. Okay, so let's put a bow on this. The backend will be done. Once we finish this, then we'll download we'll create an NPX client. So what we need to do is the last thing is we need to create our JWT config file, jwt.config.js. And in this, we are going to create a new config. So a couple things we're going to do. We're going to say const JWT equals, and this is going to be requiring our JSON web token. This is allowing us to have this web token. It's going to allow us to use this functionality. We're using JWT here. Obviously, this could be unicorn. It could be whatever you want, but it's just going to represent the web token and the methods associated to that. We're also going to say const secret, but I'm going to call this, I like to do, so we'll do this. And then we have our process.env of secret key. Just as a reminder, we created this env file. These are great for when we have passwords, when we have API keys, we have certain things that we want to have access to, but when we upload or when we want to handle this, these are called environment variables. .env is environment variable. For us to be able to have some secret key or do something and be able to use that, you know, here and there, or be able to use that without showing that within my code. So again, just to pull that in, we say process.env .secret key. There's a package in here called .env, and that's what allows us to use that tool. And then now, whenever we say process.env .secret key, it's going to refer to this last part is going to refer to not that, whatever our variable is called here. It is normal to have this all caps. That is a very normal and sort of use case or industry standard to have that. Cool. It's a fairly simple file. What I'm going to say is I'm going to say module dot exports dot authenticate. And then what we're going to take, it takes in a request, a response, and then our next function, just like they all do. And then what it does is it uses this tool or this built-in method for JWT, so for web tokens, called verify. And what that's going to do is that's going to take our cookies and verify that with our secret. And remember, our secret when we're creating our cookie is built into our secret. So that way we know and can confirm that. So it's going to verify and say, okay, cool. This person is verified. They have a cookie. They are part of our system. Does two things, error and or payload. So we can say res.status.401, meaning that, hey, there's an error. This person's not logged in. They're trying to access something that that we can't do, right? Or they can't do. They're trying to create a new movie, but they're not logged in. They're not a user. So then we get this error. Right now, we're just doing the status with a response here, but we can handle some sort of different version on the front end if we wanted. You know, if we wanted to show another page or prompt to navigate somewhere else on the front end, if this is the response that we get, then we can do that. Else, meaning that everything worked great. It's cool. Let's just go next. Payload's going to be the aspect of what we have. So we will get a payload. Let's see if we can just console. Well, we'll see. We're not going to use authenticate yet. But payload is going to be with our JWT verify is what we're going to have after that. But let's look up JWT verify payload, because I can't tell you exactly what's in there. And a secret key. I don't even know what's exactly in the payload. Let's ask Father ChatGPT. What exactly is in the JWT payload? Verify. So looking like so it's the D. Oh, okay. Yeah. So remember whenever we create our token right here, remember we have, here's what we have in here. Here's our ID and our email. So what this payload is, what this payload is a decoded version. So whatever that is, right? We're checking and saying, cool, we have the secret key, we have this cookie. Either we get an error or we have this token and we have the information and we can do something with it if we wanted. So it's also saying, so ChatGPT is saying that it contains something called claims, and claims are just pieces of our user, pieces of the information that if we want to have access to, we can build that out. We're going to see tomorrow, we're actually where this is going to come in play, because what we will actually do is in our routes, instead of saying, you know, user.controller register, we're going to say authenticate, comma, and we're going to make sure that before it can do anything, before we can create a new, you know, movie or delete something, we'll want to make sure that, you know, the user's logged in or that a piece of, or the user matches, right? I can't go in and delete your Facebook stuff or your Instagram stuff. So we'll be able to do that. So that's what this authenticate method that we're creating is doing, is we're first going to authenticate and say, cool, is this person who they say they're going to be, or are they logged in really? Because they have to, in order for them to get a cookie, they have to be either registered or logged in, i.e. once you register, you're logged in, you have a cookie created, both of those create a cookie. And we'll have a payload, a piece of information if we want to handle that, whether it's for handling what your status is. So if you're just an employee or if you have access to, one site versus you have like admin access and you can see certain things. So basically with that, we can get that information. And then when we have that, based on what we get back here, we can look and say, okay, their view is supposed to be the admin view or super user view, or they can only see one, I don't know, whatever, like based off their level. It's just part of the payload. Cool. So that's what we're going to do. We'll bring that in tomorrow, but this is the back end other than updating our routes. That is finishing the back end. So now we need our front end. So let's go in here and I will create my, should be good to go. Yep. So this out. So I'm gonna say ls. I just have this. So I'm gonna say npx create React app client. And then can anybody remember my two packages that I need to bring in on my front end?
Axios and React Router DOM.
Yeah. Axios and React React Router DOM. Cool. So let's bring those in. Great. Let's go make sure that we are all good to go there. Package JSON. I've got my Axios, my React Router DOM. Perfect. Okay. So I wanted to spend some time and just allow for you guys to kind of help walk through this because I want to make sure that, again, this is where people were getting a little bit stuck handling state, handling forms, creation, being able to navigate after, because I had some exams where I would create something, nothing would happen, or navigate, nothing happened. And then only whenever I refreshed did stuff show up. So I want to make sure that we have a better understanding of that. So let's go in. First things first, what would I do here? Where are you guys? So for all of you that took the exam already, what was your first thing you want to do here? We've already brought in React Router DOM. We've already brought in Axios.
Head to app.js.
Yeah. What am I going to do here? I'm going to get rid of all
Wipe
this,
out
right?
everything that doesn't matter.
Get rid of all of it. Cool. Cool. Now I would actually say, so I'm going to get the bootstrap CDN just so that way we can bootstrap. Let's just jump in there real quick. I'm going to add this in because I like bootstrap. I used to have a hotkey for bootstrap and then I think it's old. I just need to update it. Yeah. Cool. So now I have bootstrap. Great. It's not going to come in for a while, but before I even go to app, I'm going to come here and I'm going to bring in browser router. And then I need the same thing, but I'm going to say browser router, but I need to close it up, right? So I got the slash in front of it. Oh, of course. Cool. It's going to allow for my routes. Perfect. Cool. I like to do it here. Again, you could do that in your app.js, totally fine. But now I can say routes. And then within this, I can say, for right now, we'll just leave this here. I'm bringing in my routes, right? So these are my different routes. Allows for my routing. Here's my specific route. Currently, this is going to a home component. We don't have that. We're going to build out some stuff correctly or stuff right now. But in order for me to use these, I need to import them. And then it is routes. I don't need route from React Router DOM, not reach router. Remember I made that mistake last time. Cool. So bottom of my routes, we're all handled here. Now I need to go in. We don't have anything, right? We don't have any components. So I'm going to go ahead and create a components. And then within this, I'm just going to create a register form. Register form.jsx. Cool. REFCE. Great. So I'm going to wipe this out. There's a couple things I'm going to do here, right? I'm going to import state. Yeah. Use state. Perfect. And then I'm going to import, not use form. I'm going to say import. I know I'm going to use navigate from React Router DOM as well, because once our person is created, I want to go ahead and navigate to our dashboard, which we'll end up building here in a bit too. Okay, so before I get any further, we're good here. We are able to import state. We'll be able to have this information. Great. And then lastly, what am I going to use in order to connect to my database or make requests to my database? What's my other tool I need?
Axios from Axios.
Yeah, import Axios from Axios. Perfect. Cool. So I've got these information. I've got this information. If I wanted to use a link, I could just bring in link here. Maybe I want to link like back home or something like that, in case you don't want to register. Cool. Great. So first and foremost, I need a couple things, right? I'm going to have my form. So I'm going to say form dot call medium 6. I'm just going to leave it like this because what I want to do, actually I'll do .mx auto and I'll just change it. But what I'm going to end up doing is having this form and I'm going to embed this into sort of like we'll call it like an auth section, if you will, but basically it's just going to, we'll call it like log reg. And so it's going to have our register form. We're going to have our login form. They're both just going to be called in the same component. So that way we have it, they can be side by side, but we can still independently handle each form and each component correctly. I don't need this action. Yep, cool. So I'm going to have a H3 that just says register. Now I'm going to have, because I'm using Bootstrap, I have form group. I'm going to have a label instead of username. I don't want to have it like this. I'm going to have, let's close my div first. Perfect. Cool. What I want to have is I want to make sure that my model and my form are connected, right? So this is automatically, I mean, this is Copilot, right? It doesn't know. So it's wanting to give me a username, but I don't remember exactly what we have in our models. So let's go ahead and check. We've got a first name, a last name, an email, and a password. Cool. So I know I'm going to need those. And I know that as they change, I need to update and keep track of those changes. So I'm going to do something like useState. So I'm going to say const. I'm going to say user info, set user info. Now, I also saw quite a few people had what? They had state built out and separated each piece by piece, which is fine. You can do that. But I like to have it all in one because it allows me to handle and also have the same change handler. Just want to communicate. Remember, if we are going to have them each individual separate pieces, you can't have the change handler be there, right? You can't have just one change handler. You need to sort of do that in line with that. If we're going to build it like this, where we just have our state as one object, then we can have this sort of change handler that can be for everything. Cool. So you got a first name and a last name. I've got an email. I've got a password, and I am going to have a confirmed password. Perfect. And my state is complete here. My user info, set user info. has a first name, last name, email, password, confirm password. Cool. So let's go build that out in my form. So here I'm going to have a label dot, I think it's form, label for first name. Ooh, I spelled label wrong. How embarrassing. Perfect. And then I'm gonna have a form. I'm gonna have an input, sorry, form control for first name, user.info first name, and it automatically, I mean, this is Copilot, automatically handled this, but I'm not gonna do it this way, but I am gonna have an on change. Perfect. Let's go ahead and handle my on change. I'm gonna say const change handler. Takes in an event. I'm using my same object, right? And so because I'm doing that, each time each individual input is changing, it needs to make sure that we're getting all the other information, right? And so what I want to do is I want to say dot, dot, dot. So I need to spread out my information. Let's say I already have a first name and last name because we're recycling this change handler. I need to spread out all the information so I don't lose anything. And then I say e.target name dot value, and I close this out. Remembering that this target name is this guy right here, the input name. Cool. I believe you could do target ID as well. If this had an ID, then you could say like target.id. I believe, Robert, was that you that that worked? Or was that somebody else?
I know you can target it by ID, but I'm not
Yeah.
sure if that's how I did it.
Yeah. So you can have this instead of name. You can't have ID if you had an ID here. Cool. And this will allow us to now, this will allow us to do any sort of input, any change. We can handle that. So let's go ahead and do that. So here I'm going to say change handler. Perfect. Cool. So I've got this guy. So that's first name. And here we are. Thinking Copilot's going to do it for me. Figure it out. Yeah. Perfect. Now you guys, especially if you've already taken the exam, you can use the power of Copilot because it is way nice. And Copilot X is coming out, which is wild. If you didn't think it could get any better. Ooh, let's see what this is going to do here. Sure. Whatever. Cool. So I've got this form here that is going to take in this information that we are going to use to have all of these different aspects. Again, these class names, make sure that in JSX, it is class name. I saw a couple of people have class on here. So make sure that you do not have that. And then we just need a submit handler, right? So let's go ahead and const submit handler. We do prevent default. Absolutely. Now I'm going to say axios.post API/users/register. Have a, then I've got my response, which I'm going to console log, which is fine. And then I've got a catch. Perfect. Now I want to make sure that this users/register matches my routes. API/users/register. Cool. Great. That's good to go. Okie doke. Now, when we're handling this though, because we're going to add in one piece of information that's different is because we now are handling our cookies and we have cookies and we have that cores. If you guys remember, whenever we were setting up our server.js, we had this piece of information that we added of credentials true. This is our cross-origin communication, right? And we have this cookie parser as well. This is what allows us to do this. But we have our credentials is true and from localhost 3000. So when we are making this request to here, we also need to say with credentials true, right? We need to pass in that in order to have and create our cookie. So that way going back and forth, we can have this cookie and it can be on our, whenever we actually create a user, we'll see that a cookie is created. Okay. I'm missing a curly bracket right here. Oh, it's always my change handler. Perfect. Cool. Okay. I think that's it for this guy. Let's try it. So I'm going to spin up. Let's see. So in class, make a new tab. Perfect. So I'm gonna CD to server. LS, make sure everything's in here. Cool. So I'm gonna say nodemon server.js. Let's see if this is up and running first and foremost. Nope, there's an issue. Could not find .env. Let's just run a, I wonder if it's because oh, it's because I deleted the node modules. Let's say npm install. Now let's try it. Perfect, cool. Listening on port 8000, establish a connection to the database. That's a big piece. Now we know we're connected to our database. This should be good because we created it in this, so it's not like I deleted any of those. So I should say npm start, and let's see if we can actually create a user in our DB. Oh, home is not defined. Browser router is not defined. Okay, so it looks like I messed up. Cool. So let's go back to my app.js first off, and then I'm going to bring in register form. Cool, it brings that in up there. That's what we're doing. And then browser router needs to be imported here. And I'm gonna say import browser router from React router.dom. Cool. Now there also is another error.
You see
Oh,
missed
Don't
as
work.
O.
I don't know how to type. Cool. Okay. So I'm gonna say margin top 3 for this guy. Cool. So what should happen if everything is working? We should be able to register a user and look at the application itself and see that we got a cookie created. So first and foremost, I'm going to do this. I'm just going to keep it here and we're going to try to, so I'm going to say check, do my dog check. Let's see first and foremost. Okay. Nope. Uh-oh. Nothing happened, but it looked like it refreshed. So did we forget prevent default? No, we didn't. Oh, we didn't add our submit handler, right? So on submit is our submit handler. Perfect. Now refresh. Make sure we're still up and running on both. Yep. Yep. Cool. Let's try again. I think I already have something there. Cool. Cool. So I got a status okay. Seems like everything is good to go. Now, the big thing is we can check to see, did our user get a cookie created? And then I'll pull up Compass as well. But we can check in here. And if this worked correctly in our application, we should see a cookie. Localhost 3. Cool. So now we have this cookie that was created. We have this user token. And I think this is not for us. Oops. I think these are from, let's try this and this and this. AJS anonymous user ID. Okay. So we used user token. That was our confirmation. So again, this is in our, we're just inspecting this, going to application. You can go to your cookies. I think my other websites have my cookies. And I'm pulling up our reg login DB here. Let's see in users, I should have a check. with 3 C's, and I do. Cool, so I have Chuck Cal, they were created, here's our hashed password. I'm gonna delete them. But I have a cookie right here that's associated, so yes, everything is working. Remember that this user token is coming, this key of user token is coming from our backend. So in our controller, we've got this user token right here is our cookie, and then actually takes in our user token, which is our web token, and we have access to it. And so now we are good to go. We are able to have in our back end us create cookies. And now whenever we are registered, we're able to speak to the back end. And then when we do that, a cookie is generated. Now I can take this information and authenticate it or do different things with it. A couple things I want to do on that is, let's go ahead. Oof, that's tough. What just happened? Never. Okay. I want to make sure that after we've got this, I don't really want to, I can console like this, but I want to navigate. Haven't brought in navigate yet. So I say const navigate equals use navigate. Cool. So then now I can say navigate to, let's say slash dashboard. Yep. Perfect. Even though we don't have that yet. We don't have a dashboard. So let's go ahead and create that. Don't need much here. I'm just going to have a, welcome. Cool. Great. So now whenever we do that, we should navigate. We actually don't, I was going to say we could clear out all that information, but we don't need to, because we're just going to navigate. So we should be good to go. But we could do like set user info and then clear it out, but I don't think we need to. Okay. So let's refresh this again. I'm going to say Chuck Cal. I'm going to try doing an email that we already have. Make sure we are good to go, and that doesn't work. If I come to console, yep, error message. Cool, request failed with the status of 400. Yep, so that does not work. That's good to go. But if I say CCC and I register, we know, okay. We navigate. Anybody know what my error is? Why is this empty? Because we haven't put that in, right, as a route. So I'm going to say route. My path is to not register. So I'm going to say path equals dashboard. Oops. Perfect. And this is going to take in my dashboard. Brought it in up there. And take this. So now we should navigate to welcome to the dashboard, which we do. Right now we have that. Cool. Any questions on us putting the final touches and now bringing in at least one form in order for us to create a user? Really the big thing that changed is we added in this with credentials true. We'll build out a login tomorrow and log out. Log out should be very simple. In fact, I think we could probably just build it out. We have 6 minutes. I bet we could do it right now. So let's see. Through our controller, let's do this. Log out. All logout does is we just clear our cookie and then we say this JSON message success. Now I think we can just do it this way and we can just chain the two. So I'm gonna get rid of this. X V. So it clears it and then we get the success back correctly. Cool. I need to go into my routes. I believe it's an app.post logout. Yep. That should be good to go. Cool. So now on our dashboard, let's create a button. BTN danger. It's called logout. Cool. Anybody have any ideas on how I can make that request? If I have this button, what could I do here?
Non-click.
You can use like an on click.
Yeah, use an on-click. Exactly. What would that look like?
Let's pull up code.
Const.
Const like log out
Yeah,
equals the Axios route that you're going to.
so it's a Axios dot post. Oh, it looks like it was about to do that for me. Tough dot post. Localhost 8000 API/users/logout with credentials is true. I believe in order for this to work, we'll test it. I think we're gonna have to pass in a empty object. Let's test it. So on click, we're gonna just say logout. Perfect. And then this is my dot then. I'm actually going to console log the response, and then I want to do more than one thing, so I need my curly brackets, right? And a promise, if you don't want to do, if you only want it to do one thing, console log or return something, you don't. But if you wanted to do multiple things, you can have it, put a curly bracket and you can do multiple things. Cool. So we have a dot then, and we have our dot catch. I don't need this anymore. Cool. So what should happen is we're logged in, we have this cookie. We click this button. Once this button is clicked, it runs this. We pass in our empty object and we pass in our credentials. And I believe it's because it's a post request. We need to have this empty object. We pass in the credentials, which is true. You should console log the response, navigate back, and then we'll check and make sure that our authenticate, or sorry, in our application that our cookie is gone. Okay.
We're still gonna
So
need
let's,
Axios and navigate.
yep. I don't need link, but I just brought it in. And in order for us to do this, I say const navigate is use navigate. Perfect. Cool. So I'm here. I have my application. I have my cookie. Now let's see what happens if I log out. Nothing. Whoa. Getting an error. Let's see. Network error API/users/logout. Is my server down? Yep. What did I forget? Let's check. Well, I thought it was gonna be a 1 second thing. Routes. User controller, API/user/logout, that's fine. So the only other thing we did was our controller. So therefore we did something incorrectly here. Rec.res. Oh. Curly bracket, duh. No? Not a curly bracket though, because why do I have this extra guy? Wouldn't that have done the same? No, still broken.
What's Helper's timers?
I don't know. What did I do incorrectly?
Is helpers timers something to do with how long you're stored, like and logged in, or even like
Think
the
so.
cookies?
Cause we have our cookie should expire in a day.
Do you have to do the like max age, and then that's what determines the length of how long the cookies are stayed?
That's what this guy does. This expires in. But what it should do is just clear the cookie user token and then get a response. Hmm.
Yeah, in the HTTP only in your controller for your register. If you go up a little bit. So are you trying to log in or are you just trying to register?
I'm trying to log out. So
Oh.
network error. So let's see. User routes. This is a post request. API users log out. User controller log out. There's something I did in the back end that it is not liking at all. But
What was the
cookie-
error again?
Saying that the helper timers require stack. Module not found. Hmm. Know that we need to do this. Oops, I don't need this. See if this does it. No. Localhost 8000 API/users/logout exit. Error connection refused. But I'm passing
Should that be a
in.
route?
Huh?
Should that be a route?
API/users/logout. We're trying to do, oops, not this one. Localhost 8000 API/users/logout with credentials true.
Are you supposed to have that curly bracket in there?
Yeah, because you're supposed to, let's try it without it. But you're supposed to, but it's not that isn't what's breaking my back end. Right? It's just my back end's not working for something. Something broke it. But what I don't know. Let's see. What is in here? You have cookie parser, mongoose, web token, .env, decrypt, cores. validated. This is fine. Cookie parser. Weak credentials true. Origin localhost 3000. That's what we're coming from. We have cookie parser up here. We have cores up here. So it is something in my back end.
Hmm.
What I don't know. LOGOUT. LOGOUT, user controller dot logout, API post, API users logout, comma, post. Checking that looks exactly the same. Curly brackets, this curly, this guy matches this
Let's try it.
guy.
Let's try to in the backend to see if it can log out a user.
Haven't yet. Is it this function? Nope. Wow, this is weird
Very interesting.
because it was just working with this code. If I just log this out. In theory, this is the code that just worked, right?
Interesting. Helpers, timers.
So it's a mongoose error. Is what it is. Axios error. Config. Network error. Well, yeah, now we can't do anything. Request. Config.
Maybe try clearing your cache. Maybe. Yeah, like doing npm cache clean, I think. Maybe I think it's npm cache clean.
Ah!
There's a cache
Like-
clear.
That's clear. Clean should work. Clear class.
There's it's like npm cache clear hyphen or yeah dash force.
Oh,
To
yeah.
clear your Node.js cache, and then you can npm install again.
That's
What
interesting.
if I just.
Yeah. No, yeah, it says npm cache clean dash force.
Weird.
Very weird. That's
So all we
development.
did to fix that was remove my node modules and put them back in. Now this code is still here. It's gonna give me an error. That's fine. We expect that because it's saying, I don't know what logout is. If I come here. Save that. Now we're good to go. Now if I refresh this. I log out. I
Interesting.
hate development sometimes. Okay, so it worked. Our code was right. No, it didn't, because it didn't clear this guy.
Oh, but maybe because you logged out, sorry, it stopped a few times. Are you logging back in, logging out? Or no?
No, so I should have, oh, it's because I deleted the. I think in our dashboard, I deleted yeah,
The curly bracket? Oh, yeah.
yeah. Okay, now let's try this. Does it break anything? No. I'm gonna stop the server. I'm just gonna. Application. Delete. Okay. Check. Cal. Cool. Never. Now I have this. Let's see if this works. Yep. Okay. Guys, no idea. Our node modules just hated us for a second. We didn't do anything different. Other than deleting our node modules and re-downloading them. But
Mm.
we saw our functionality working where we can now create a cookie. And if they log out, then it takes it away. So that's super weird. I wonder what. It was saying our mongoose was off and broken. I'm not sure why. I have no idea why it did that. Helpers, timers, something was just off. I have no idea. So, cool. Well, that's all. There we go. We problem solved that. Yeah, so tomorrow what we'll do is we'll build out our login. And then we'll just bring them side by side. So that way it's an actual login and registration. And we'll be able to show what that authenticate method does. Are there any questions on what we did other than why the heck node modules hates us? It's so funny. It's so weird. Cool. Well, we'll stop the recording here.